On this channel, I have lots of videos showing how I train dogs that pull on leash when walking. But what if your dog does the opposite and they refuse to walk? Meet Kiki and Fynn, two of my clients who used to stall on walks all of the time. They both also happen to be very large dogs, so they'd be very difficult to move if they don't want to. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step rewards-based method that I use to solve their refusal to walk, plus share 2 common training mistakes that you should avoid. Before starting any training, there's 2 things that I suggest ruling out. First, is your dog in pain? If they haven't had a recent vet checkup, it's worth starting there. And second, is your dog scared of something along the walk, such as traffic noise? For example, Kiki had a traumatic start to life, so she had a lot of fears, including things like loud noises. If your dog's refusal to walk is fear-based, I recommend focusing on counter-conditioning those fears first. Assuming that the dog isn't stalling due to pain or fear, let's jump into how I train refusal to walk. There's an important concept about dog training that we need to remember. What gets rewarded gets repeated. If we give too much attention to a dog that's stalling, we might accidentally reinforce that behavior because dogs see attention from us as a reward. Nira doesn't typically snore, but I think because her nose is pressed against my leg, she's snoring right now, and I keep wondering if all of these shots are going to be ruined because you're just going to hear snoring in the microphone. So the first mistake that we need to avoid during training is over-encouraging or making a massive fuss when the dog does stall, because we might accidentally reward that behavior.
Let's go home. Come on. Come on, let's go home, Fynn.
Instead of accidentally potentially reinforcing when the dog stops, we're going to reward the behavior that we want, which is walking. I do this with a progressively phased training approach, the same way that I would teach other skills, such as sitting or lying down. Let's use training down as a quick example. First, I start by using the treat as a lure to guide the dog into the position that I want. Think of the treat like a magnet for your dog's nose. During this phase, I don't add any cueing. Second, once they're easily following that treat lure, then I add in a cue word so the dog starts to associate the cue with the desired action. Then third, and most importantly, as soon as possible, I phase out that treat lure and I request the action verbally. From then on, the dog only sees and receives the reward after they've successfully completed the action. Now let's use this phased method to train Fynn and Kiki to stop stalling on walks. Step 1 is luring without a cue. This time when your dog stalls, don't give any verbal encouragement. Instead, walk to the end of the leash, which creates a bit of distance between you and your dog. Next, put a treat between your fingers and make sure that your dog sees it. Then turn your back to your dog and lower the treat to their head height. You're going to use that treat to lure the desired action of walking. Next, wait for your dog to start moving towards you. The first time that you try this, you may be waiting a while, but with repetitions, your dog should get faster and faster at it. Importantly, make sure that with each repetition, you start walking when your dog is almost caught up to you, which allows you to reward your dog in motion. This is crucial to this training process. This ensures that the reward is received during the action that we want them to repeat, which is walking. With each repetition of this, slowly increase the amount of time that your dog is expected to walk next to you before they get that reward. This helps decouple the reward from the stalling behavior. At this point in the video, you might be wondering, isn't that bribery?
Is that a bribe?
Yes. Technically, lure training is bribery because the treat is being shown to get the desired behavior. Lure training is great for getting the dog to quickly perform the desired action, but a common training mistake is using luring for too long. It's really crucial to phase out that treat lure as quickly as possible. If you don't, the dog might only offer that behavior when they see the treat. That's why by step 3, you see that I phase out that treat lure. We woke up Sleeping Beauty. Yeah. Oh. Sorry I woke you from your slumber. The look of disappointment. Okay. Step 2 is adding a verbal cue.
Kiki's stalling. This. Let's go. Good. Yes.
Once your dog follows the lure quickly, then add a verbal cue such as let's go.
Okay. Yes.
As you turn your back and show that treat lure, now say let's go. With repetition, this will teach your dog to move as soon as they hear the cue. Just like step 1, continue to reward them in motion when they reach your side. And finally, step 3 is phasing out the treatler and just using a verbal cue. As mentioned, it's important to phase out the treatler as quickly as possible. How quickly that you'll be able to do that does depend on your dog, but for context, with both Kiki and Fynn, I phased out the treatler by our 3rd walk. To do so, now if your dog stalls, simply say let's go, but without showing the treat first. If you've rehearsed steps 1 and 2 adequately, that cue should get them to move towards you. Once they reach you and are walking next to you, then present the treat.
So Kiki's there. I've got nothing in my hands. Okay, Kiki, let's go. Yes. Good.
Now we're using the treat as an actual reward rather than as a bribe.
Good.
That covers the 3-phase method that I personally use to solve refusal to walk, but there's one more really critical piece to this training. Remember what I said earlier, what gets rewarded gets repeated. So it's really important to also make a conscious effort to reward the times that your dog is walking with you without stalling first. This helps build a solid reward history for what we do want, which is simply staying in motion and walking. To get the best results with this training, I encourage you to reward your dog heavily on walks for at least 1 week whenever they're simply walking with you. Teach them that staying in motion gets rewarded. I've had great success with this method, and I really hope that it helps you too. Happy training. I'll see you in the next video.
Leave it. Good.